Hey, it's Ellie. Welcome back to another video, or hello if you are new. Today is going to be a kind of a long episode, but we are finally wrapping up the hotel. And at the end of this episode, I'm finally going to be able to show you guys some cinematics of the finished building, and I'm so excited. But we have 40 minutes until we get to that point, so hi. How's it going? I've recorded so many of these voiceovers in the last 2 days that I hardly have anything to say anymore. So I'm gonna talk about work for a little bit because I had to go into work today, and even though my university is on break, and when I say my university, I mean the university that I work at. I don't attend this university, I'm graduated. I just work at a research lab that is in a university. And the campus is closed right now. It's closed for Christmas break, which is about 8 or 9 days that they close. And there were actually like a number of people in my building, because my building in particular is in one of the science buildings, and there's a lot of labs that have living research subjects. And it's just it's an interesting experience working in a building that has so many different types of like insects and animals and whatnot, because all the time I will see some giant, like a really large bug, right? It's just in the hallway or something, and your first instinct is just, oh, somebody lost one of their research subjects. And so, yeah, that's it's an interesting aspect of working in a building like that. And the other interesting aspect is that people are there literally all the time. Like one of the labs has moths in it. It's the one actually directly next to my lab. And it's literally, you have to like black out the room for 12 hours to kind of accommodate for a moth's like normal day-night cycle. And so they can't even go in their lab from, I think it's midnight to noon, or is it noon to midnight? I don't remember. It's always seemed to me like an inconvenient time. I think it's noon to midnight is, so they do all their work like super early in the morning that they need to in the lab, like all their care and things, and then they work outside of the lab for the rest of the day. And so, yeah, on the other side of my lab, there are birds, and that's one of the people that I saw today is a technician that works in the bird lab. My title is also a lab technician, and so yeah, we are in a similar position of having to come in on off days. Like I usually go into the lab 6 days a week, but I do like multiple half days throughout the week so that I don't stress myself out, because I am like an hourly employee, so I have to work less than 40 hours because my research grant is not very accommodating for overtime and things like that. But yeah, I go in on Saturdays, and I go in when the campus is closed. If there's like, depending on how bad the weather is, like sometimes I have to make it in on like snow days and things like that, because most adult working people do not get snow days. But yeah, it's interesting. So even though everybody else gets like a full week off, I just get a couple days here or there. that I get off, and then I have to also go into the lab and care for. I don't know if I mentioned, my lab has crickets in it, so I have to care for the crickets. And these crickets in particular are from Hawaii, so they're used to like a very humid environment, so we have like a very strict temperature controlled room, and it has built like a built-in vent system to make the air humid, and not as humid as it is in Hawaii, but in as humid as they can make it here, which is New York State, so it's pretty dry up here, especially in the winter. The humidity can drop to like 20%, which is pretty dry. Maybe not as dry for people, but very, very dry for crickets that are, you know, from a tropical location. So, yeah, they can't really go a week without being cared for. They would all die, and we would lose months and months of research. So, anyway, what I'm doing in the game right now is adding the final details to the interior here. I messed around with this bar a lot. I tried many iterations before I finally got a bar setup that I actually was happy with. And I think it looks much better with the column in the center. It just kind of breaks up the bar a little bit. But even this is not the final the final product, because I spent a very long time messing with it, as I said. In the end, though, it does turn out pretty well. And I really like the way that this hotel lobby just turned out in general. I feel like it has a lot of open space, which I want for the actual guest AI, because the actual guest AI is stupid. They like clump up together way too often, and so that's kind of the more space you can have in your buildings, the better, because that's going to help with traffic flow. People are better at like routing out to get around people, but when they're trying to all like go to the same location, like a viewing glass or something, it gets pretty rough. In fact, when I tested my zoo at some point earlier, they were crowding right in kind of the front of the zoo where the flamingo habitat is, which I haven't built yet, for, you know, from your guys' perspective. But so there's a hotel here that I'm building, and then there's also a front entrance to the zoo, which is like kind of across the roundabout that I made with pathing, and then directly outside of that entrance is a flamingo habitat. And unfortunately they crowd way too early. I thought I could get it, there's some more open space like further on, but they just, as soon as they have like a decent enough view, they just stop. And so there is a bit of crowding in that area. I just don't think I can do anything about it at this point, which is part of the reason that building the zoo on pause mode is sometimes detrimental, because you can't always anticipate the issues like that. Like, I talked about my lemur house in the last episode, but I have no idea how the guests are going to do in that lemur house, because it's a very open space, but it's also it's in an interactive habitat. The lemurs are animals that you can interact with since the barnyard update, and I know there's like major crowding issues that I think are still ongoing with the petting zoo animations, and how the guests deal with the animals that they can interact with. Like, so I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm hopeful everything will work out fine. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of pathway too, which I'm hoping will like kind of keep the guests like flowing through, because the lemurs actually go on the upper path that I have that kind of like loops around the outside of the building, or like I guess the middle of the kind of front. You'll see it eventually, but it's very, it's, I believe, the biggest building that I have in the game, though my arid house might end up a little bit bigger. I'm not sure. I don't know what the size of it is. I'd have to look again. But yeah, I have a lot of indoor areas for some of my animals. So there's the lemur house, and then I also really wanted to do like a desert themed house to kind of put some of those animals that wouldn't necessarily fit in this biome in my zoo. And so I think my plan is right now, I don't remember all of the animals. I think I was gonna put a fennec fox in. I did look at one point and kind of make a list in my head about the critically endangered or similar endangered status animals. I think the red kangaroo, I can do a walkthrough exhibit for that one. I'm just gonna I built this big circular section of the building, and I'm just gonna have the kangaroos in there and the people can walk in, and then they can walk out the same way, so that hopefully that doesn't impede traffic too much. But yeah, there's actually not too much I have left to do of the zoo. I have as I mentioned, the arid house. I have to finish that. I really just have the shell of the building right now. I have the peafowl golf course, which I'm not going to be decorating a ton, so it's just going to be the clubhouse section of the golf course that takes me a little bit of time, and I do want to make it a restaurant as well. And then I have the polar bear, oh my goodness, words. Polar bear building. That was more difficult to say than I thought. And that is going to take me a while, because not only is the polar bear habitat quite large, but I also want to make that building part of a wedding venue. So there's going to be the whole ceremony in the archway where the bride and groom stand. It's going to be directly in front of one of the glass walls of the habitat where the polar bears swim. And so I'm hoping there'll be some cool visuals of the polar bears kind of swimming right behind the archway. And then I want to do a little reception area, a tent thing outside. And then of course, you need a regular viewing area for the guests to see their polar bears. So yeah, and then the whole outdoor section, which is, as I mentioned, huge. So that one's gonna take some work, I think, because I also want to do my best to disguise it as to kind of make it seem like it's just open, even though it's not. And then I have some finishing touches to do with the Bengal tiger exhibit habitat, and I think that's it. Is it? No, I'm missing one. Oh, the panda. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited for the panda habitat. It's going to be sunken into the ground. And then I have this reference picture that I just absolutely loved, and I was like, I need to build this in Planet Zoo, even though it is going to be so complicated. And then, I don't know, at some point I was fiddling, and I still have it in place where I put, there's a glass arch piece in the game that has really thick metal columns coming down, and I don't remember why I placed them, but I ended up putting it in a complete perfect circle with like the, you know, the circular duplicate trick, and it looks pretty cool. It looks like it might be a really cool kind of roof for this upper level viewing situation that I have going on, and so I may try to build something interesting with that. I'm not sure. It's gonna kind of ruin the vibe of the reference photo that I'm using, and so I'm not 100% sure if I'm actually gonna use it or not. But we'll see. Either way, the panda habitat is going to be super cool because there's going to be like an overlook into the panda habitat, which is down below, and then I also managed to wrap the path around underneath so that it's more level with the actual habitat, and you can kind of see the pandas like right up close. And I'm just, it's going to be a challenge to make it look good, I know, but it's gonna work. I have good hopes that it's gonna work. And so there's a lot of good things that I'm looking forward to showing off. I really love my kind of wilderness forest walk with the mute swan and I think it's the European fallow deer. That habitat just looks so serene to me. I'm very excited for it. And then there's some other good ones. I have a lynx in my park. I have 2 lynx and they had a baby, but then I had to sell the baby because it grew up and there was some overcrowding issues. And then what else? We have Nile monitor. Yeah, Nile monitor, I think. The capybara spa, which also has an anteater and I think some turtles. Is it the Galapagos turtle? I don't remember. There's some giant tortoise or turtle in there, and they all kind of hang out, and that's a good time. Capybaras are not endangered, but I think the anteaters might be. Either way, when possible, I also always try to put multiple species to a habitat because it just feels more natural to have the animals together. In a zoo that's focused on conservation, you would definitely want to have these like very large habitats that also contain animals that, you know, you would find together in the wild. And I definitely mentioned this before, but also, you know, the interacting with the animals is a big element of this zoo. So basically, most of the habitats are walkthroughs. Let's see, let me count actually, because now I'm thinking about it and now I'm curious. Okay, so there's flamingos. That one's not a walkthrough, even though it could have been. I had a vision in mind, and it didn't include the guests walking through that habitat. The lynx are not a walkthrough habitat. Tigers, no. Polar bears, no. I have West African lions. Obviously, no. Indian elephants. And the pandas will be a no. And I think most of the things in the desert house are also going to be a no, because they're just going to be... It's going to feel like a walkthrough exhibit, but it's not. But then... So I'd say probably half, because then I have... Oh, and I have palace cats. Forgot about that. They were kind of a late addition. I just had this empty space, and the palace cats had just recently come out, so I just put them in my zoo because I love palace cats. They're so freaking cute. And they also look horribly grumpy, and I love everything about them. And so then, on the other hand, you have in my zoo, I have, let's see, the fallow deer and the mute swan. So that's one habitat, but 2 animals. Then I have the capybara spa, which, as I mentioned, has the capybaras, the anteater, and one of the turtles. And then there is the Japanese moths and the cranes, I think. I don't remember. There's a bird in there with the little primates, and so that's a walkthrough habitat. It kind of is framed to have the walkthrough section. There's like a path in the front, and then the whole habitat is kind of open to explore. And I don't think they're an interactable animal, so I don't think the guests are gonna go too far in that habitat, but we'll see. We'll see how they do. Let's see. Then there's the lemur house, which has all 3 of the Madagascar lemurs and one of the other primates, and I don't remember what it's called. I think it starts with a C. But yeah, so there's 4 lemurs in there, and then we'll have the peafowls, which will be another. So yeah, I guess in terms of actual habitats, they're not all. There's not as many walkthroughs as there are viewing, but in terms of like the number of animals that you get to interact with, I'd say it's about half of the animals that are in the zoo are ones that you can interact with in one of the habitats. And so I think that's pretty cool. I would definitely pay a lot of money to be able to go to a zoo like this and have all these like cool amenities and also be able to interact with all of these different animals. And I just want to mention, because I'm working on it right now, that these education boards are like the bane of my existence. They frustrate me so much because they're so hard to camouflage. I guess that's my main problem. Like, I think I did an okay job here doing something interesting that also kind of looks nice. But it is so difficult to get these boards to look natural. They just look so, they don't look like real. I don't know how else to describe it. They just don't look like something I would ever actually see in real life. And so it bothers me when I try to put them down. But yeah, the hotel has a roof now, which is exciting. But it also makes everything inside turn very gray, which is just an issue with the game lighting, trying to come through the windows and not, you know, there's not actually like fully blacked out rooms. I don't think, I think that's something they just added in Planet Coaster, actually. Planet Coaster 2, I mean. But yeah, so, you know, sorry for the bleakness in the inside. It looks much warmer at night. And I did consider filming some of the cinematics at night, but it also doesn't show off the detail quite as well at night, so... Or the color, frankly, which is kind of a big part of this hotel. There's some interesting colors going on. So yeah, I ended up just filming the cinematics and in the daytime, in the bleakness, and I tried my best to make the cinematics worthwhile. I don't know if I've ever used the root camera in Planet Zoo until just yesterday when I was filming the cinematics for this hotel. because I do not ever remember using that before. I know I've used it a ton in like The Sims 4, for instance, because I used to build and share my builds in that game a lot, but I don't think I ever did that in Planet Zoo, and so that was a learning experience. The camera makes some choices sometimes that are not always sensical, and you do have to wonder why the camera is doing that, but you know, for the most part it was okay, and for the most part it wasn't too difficult to get the shots that I wanted, which was pretty cool. I definitely appreciate the ability to easily showcase my work when I'm done, because, you know, even screenshots don't feel like they always do it justice. Sometimes you just need to kind of experience it all in one all in one cute cinematic. So yeah, I am gonna film all of these cinematics without guests. Sometimes there may be a worker milling about though. It's actually, this one very annoying worker was like coming off her shift or something and kept walking like directly through the shots that I was trying to take. So that was, you know. I also, like, I was struggling with the UI, because you can hide the UI when you're going through the camera route, but if you move the mouse at all, it brings up the UI, and you can't get rid of it again until you restart the route. And so I was having some frustration, partly because my mouse is old and I don't know, it was like having a bit of lag. And then also I had a cat on me and the cat was being very annoying. You know, they have a habit of like kicking their legs randomly or swishing their tail just so to hit the mouse and activate it so that it, you know, shows the UI again. But anyway, we managed. Me and the cat. We managed. So here what I'm doing is making balconies, because I had this realization that it doesn't make any sense from the inside to the outside, and that's okay. But the outside was just way too... I just couldn't have this blank white wall near the swimming pool. Like, I had to do something else to make it interesting. And so I did... you might have seen, just try to put windows up, but that just didn't look good. It looks so bland. And so I eventually decided I would try to build some balconies and just pretend, you know, that there are rooms in that vicinity. You know, I'm pretty sure the floor is like much higher than where that balcony would be, but it's okay. We're gonna pretend. Yeah, you can see it right there. It's way too low for where it actually would be, based on where the like roof of the lobby is. But in the end, I think the balconies really added like a good amount of interest to the exterior of the hotel on that side, anyway. And plus, like, how cool would it be if you had one of those balcony rooms and you could just go out and look at the zoo, like from your balcony, and like see all the random animals. I'm sure you could see the deer from there, the swans, probably the flamingos. I think they might be in view. Maybe some of the other ones, maybe even the elephants. They're kind of far, but maybe they're pretty big, so it would be easier to spot them. But yeah, here is a bar that I'm building for outside, because I think about these things and I think that a fancy hotel would not want to have people dripping from the pool going into their lobby to get a drink. So they would definitely have a bar outside. And That way they can keep all the wet people outside until they're, you know, actually ready to go to their rooms. And so there's this kind of private hotel pool, and then I think I mentioned last episode, there is a huge giant pool that I built later on, which I think I cut most of it out because it was just a lot of me placing limestone columns down to make a smooth surface, which is what all of this is, in case you are wondering. My flooring, especially for white, is almost always limestone. It's my preferred building piece. I think I use it the most of all the like sets of material pieces. The limestone is definitely up there because it has a nice texture, but it's also actually white. And it bugs me to no end that in this game, when you set something to pure white, as in like, you know, F times 6 or whatever it is for the hex code, which is pure white, the colors vary across different materials. It's so, oh, that absolutely drives me nuts. It's actually something that I applauded Planet Coaster 2 for, which was having just uniform colors, because gosh, the material shouldn't change the color that much. Like, fine if it has some texture to it, like this stone, for instance, that the bar is made of, is also set to pure white, and it's dynamic, it's got gray in there, but it's still white. Like, the main part is still white, it matches the white of the limestone, so you can kind of blend these two together and not have it look totally garish. But there's some other ones, like the concrete, for example, that you can never get them to be as white as you can with the limestone, and so you can never use those pieces together because they just look stupid when they're two different colors of white next to each other. If you're gonna use a different color, you might as well just use the same material and just change the color scheme. But yeah, we are almost to the end here. 30 minutes in. I feel like I've been talking forever. Yeah, this is a long video. Please enjoy me building chairs over and over again and using the employees as a reference for height. And I do change these chairs because, wow, they look horrible right now. I like the way they turn out in the end. I actually quite like building this little furniture, stuff like this. I feel like I'm okay at it. It looks decent enough to me. And so, it just like, you need these things to fill up the space. I really wish they had more of this in the game. I'm actually like, I'm not looking forward to the end of development for this game, but in some ways I am looking forward to it because I want to get mods for this game, but I don't want to ever break my game, and I'm too worried to use mods right now when they're still updating the game. And there's apparently at least one more pack coming, so they say. I don't know how they knew that. I think Frontier announced it maybe, but yeah. So eventually though, I really hope to get some mods that of maybe like some more generic looking, just plain furniture, just chairs and couches is all I need. I haven't looked in the workshop in a while though. I bet there's some good designs on there. I just, you know, I like building things myself eventually. And the same way with The Sims. Speaking of The Sims, I have not yet decided if I'm going to be making more Sims 4 content for my channel. I probably will at some point, but right now I don't think it's going to be on the schedule. I just have a lot of other games that I want to play. So I think I'm just gonna take a break from The Sims 4. Honestly, I haven't played it in years anyway. But yeah, I don't really have like a project that I want to do in The Sims 4 right now, so I'm just gonna stick to projects that I actually want to do so that I fun making my channel's content again. Which, speaking of, I had a great idea the other day, and I think I'm gonna do it once my zoo is complete, because it probably won't take me too terribly long. It's gonna be more of a quick project, I think. But I want to build the Long Dark in Planet Zoo, because I think it would work pretty well. So I think I might build something more simple, like maybe the Lakeview region, or I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'm gonna pick one of the regions though, and I'm going to build it in Planet Zoo, and I'm going to put, you know, the appropriate animals. There are timber wolves in Planet Zoo, and there are definitely bears, definitely regular wolves, like some other species of wolf. There's many wolves. No rabbits. And there are deer, of course. I just mentioned that I have fallow deer in my zoo right now. So I think we could do it. And then I have a bunch of other Planet Zoo projects that I'm thinking of making going forward. Some that I kind of want to do in collaboration with some Planet Coaster 2 videos. Like I mentioned, I want to do like a pair of parks that are centered around like a New England theme. And then I also want to do maybe like a Disney inspired park in Planet Zoo, that is. It makes more sense to do it in Planet Coaster, I know, but I actually want to do it in Planet Zoo and like build habitats for animals that are in Disney movies, because I think that would be fun. I think there's some interesting scenes that I could make, and I think it wouldn't be too crazy challenging because I think there's enough pieces in the game for me to make it work. Like, I would love to do some kind of riverboat, like one of those old jazz riverboats, to feature maybe Crocodile from The Princess and the Frog, just because I like the aesthetic of that and I think it would be fun. And then obviously I have to do the Lion King, the Pride Rock, and you know, there's just so many options. Like, there's a whole movie about bears. There's like 4 movies about bears, I'm sure, in the Disney universe. So, you know, there's a lot to choose from. And I think that could be like a fun one-off project that I maybe don't have to make it's such a coherent zoo, but I can build the habitats individually and then put them on the Steam Workshop or something like that. So yeah, those are my plans going forward. Lots of things that I would like to do at some point. So you'll see here I'm building the parking lot, and I mentioned this in a previous episode, but while I was building this parking lot, I all of a sudden realized that I never put the elevator on the main floor of the hotel lobby, and so I go and do that really quick because I'm like, oh, how are these like people using the disabled parking spaces gonna get upstairs if they have some kind of mobile disability? Gotta do that quick so that it's ADA compliant. And then obviously I'm making these parking spots with, like, you know, the free space in between, and I do eventually plan to put actual parking, like disabled parking signs in front of these parking spaces. I already make the signs later on, I make them. And so I do just have to do that. I don't know if I mentioned it in this episode or last episode. I don't think I mentioned it this episode, but maybe last episode. When I take these cinematics, I did not update any of the signage in the game. I am planning to go through later at some point and add all of the signs into my game folder so that I can put them in the appropriate places and make sure that it's all organized and that everything is working properly. And I don't want to do it piecewise while I'm building because I know I'm gonna end up forgetting ones if I do it like that. So before I kind of finish my zoo, I plan to go through like a full tour and get all of the signs that I need to upload and write them down and, you know, make sure I have the correct dimensions and everything, and then I will go and actually film the zoo tour, which should be coming up for me soon. For you, not soon. I don't know. For you, it's probably going to be like the end of 2025 or something. Oh god, this series is so long. If I release 2... Oh god, yeah. If I release 2 episodes a week, 8 episodes a month, how long is that going to take? I don't know how long this series is going to be. I'm already up to 10 episodes and I'm like, I've just hit April in my building. And so maybe 35 episodes, I would say. So I guess that won't actually be a crazy amount of time. It might be like the middle of the year by the time. Like 4 months, right? Yeah. 5 months. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. I do put more detail into this parking lot, but honestly, I don't show it in this video. I think I do it later on, or I forgot to record it, one of the two. Either way, it does look better, and you'll see it in probably the final tour because I did not include the parking lot in the hotel cinematics. So, sorry about that. But yeah, this video is finally about done. So, thank you so much everybody for watching this very long video. Stay tuned for the very cool cinematics that are coming up. You actually get to see what my build looks like in real time as I go through the hotel. If you like the series, make sure to give the video a like. Subscribe to my channel so that you catch my future content. Check the playlist for all previous and future in this series. And I will see you all in the next video. Until then, bye!